This is a clip-on digital MP3 MP4 player that also features Bluetooth, sells for $25 for the 8GB version, and it can be expanded using a micro SD card up to 128 gigabytes. So in 2018, there's still a few reasons why you may want to consider an MP3 player. For one, if you're hiking or performing some type of more rugged outdoor activity and you don't want to bring along something like a phone which can accidentally be damaged, or if it's too heavy, not as lightweight, then you can bring something like this, which is very light, stores a lot more content, and the battery life will also last you probably longer than your smartphone for playing back just audio. The design of this particular audio player also reminds me a lot of the SanDisk Clip from a few years ago. In fact, it can be considered as highly inspired, or maybe even a clone in some ways, just because it has that clip as well as a color screen on the front, which makes it a little bit easier to attach onto a pocket or onto a shirt for transportation. To get you roughly 30 to 40 hours of continuous audio playback before you need to recharge it again. So here's the MP3 player itself, and we also have access to some spare or free 3.5mm earbuds, also branded by Ruizu, which is a company that specializes in these audio devices. And you can, of course, use your own or use wireless Bluetooth headphones instead. There's also a user manual that's printed telling you some of the various features that you can access. So taking a look at the design of the MP3 player here, again, very similar to the SanDisk in the fact that it has that clip that you can attach onto a shirt. We also have access on the back to some very basic information about the unit, including the model number. The side here features access to the micro SD card slot. There's a dedicated volume rocker, which I do like to see, so it's easier to control the sound without digging into the interface. And on the top, there's access to a standard 3.5mm headphone jack, a dedicated power switch, and nothing else is on the other side. On the bottom, there's the micro USB port for charging, and the front features a 1.5-inch TFT LCD display. And below that, we have a 5-way navigation toggle with a play-pause key, controls for skipping tracks, going to the menu, and going back. So let's try booting up the device and see if there's any power out of the box, and the screen is lighting up immediately. It's taking us to a setup screen first where we can select language. I'm going to tap on English, and we are done. So the interface seems to be quite simple. There's also a time on the very top as well, which is a nice little extra. There's the battery status, and I can go left to right to cycle between the interface. We have music, we have videos, and there's also recording. So there's a small microphone on the side here that picks up your voice. It's not going to be outstanding in quality, but if you have to record some quick notes, a memo pad, or meeting documents, then this is something that you could consider. There's also a built-in FM radio, although you do need to plug in the headphones to act as the antenna. There's also access to images, and here's an ebook, which is basically just a text reader. Here's a sample text, and you can tell that it's not the best experience, definitely not as good as a phone or a tablet, because the screen is so small that you have to do a lot of scrolling back and forth between the pages. With that being said, there are a few things that you can do, including bookmark certain parts of the book, and you can also read any text document. So you can load it up with, let's say, an address book or some memos from a computer, just drag it and drop it in here, and you can view back that content if you have to store some emergency information like that. All right, so let's go back and take a look at the next feature, which is just going into Tools, and we have in here a calendar. You can't add any notifications, but it does tell you some basic day of the week depending on the month. Let's go back. There's also a stopwatch, and again, very simple. I can just tap to start it and to pause it, as well as to delete it. And there's also an alarm, so you can create an alarm clock for different types of situations, like when you're listening to music to turn off, or just as a wake-up alarm. But you do need to plug in your own headphones or plug it into a speaker of some sort, since it doesn't have a built-in speaker. And this is the Bluetooth mode. I can tap on this instead to turn this function on, and then connect to a Bluetooth headset for listening to music wirelessly. Next, we have a pedometer, which is another kind of simple app that is a little bit thoughtful, just because you probably are using this for sports and exercise anyways. So if you go to the gym or if you're jogging outside, you can just clip this onto your shirt and it tracks basic step count information. It's not going to be as accurate or as fully featured as a real fitness tracker. It doesn't tell you your heart rate, but it does tell you your steps, distance walked, and calories burned as a quick converter, as well as time passed. It's using a simple accelerometer or a motion sensor to detect your steps, and what's interesting is after a few seconds, you can see that the screen goes to sleep, displaying this time as well as date information. Let's tap on it once to wake it up. So if we go into videos very quickly and just tap on a sample clip, one thing that you'll notice is that compared to some of the other MP4 players that we've seen on the market, it definitely has a more square aspect ratio to the screen. In fact, it's basically a perfect cube, as opposed to some of the other kind of iPod clones and nanos that we've seen in the past, which had a more stretched aspect ratio, where if you tilted it onto the side, you had a slightly better viewing experience. On this, it's formatted like a perfect square, so the actual screen size when you're watching a video clip, especially a widescreen video, is a little bit smaller. However, surprisingly, it's still a decent experience. You're obviously not going to really want to watch clips for too long on such a small display when most people will probably use their phones or computers, but it's passable if you want to very quickly load up a few clips here and there, maybe to share with friends and family. The viewing angles of the display aren't great. You can see that colors drop off pretty dramatically as they start tilting the screen at extreme angles. It's not a IPS panel, just a traditional LCD. But with that being said, colors for the most part are still fairly accurate when you're looking at it head on. It's obviously not very detailed, so there's quite a bit of pixelation. But again, it is surprisingly a passable experience if you want to use this feature. Then again, I do think that this is not the main priority of the X50 per se, just because, again, because it has this clip form factor, I think that its main priority will just be music, having wireless if you want to connect to wireless Bluetooth headsets, and having that pedometer function as an added bonus. All the other features are mostly added on, kind of like other MP3 players, but in this particular form, they probably won't be as well appreciated or used on this device. So go into pictures and take a quick look. It supports JPEG images without any problems, and the experience is pretty similar to videos, but on JPEG images, it actually stretches across the entire display and fills the screen so you get a better sense of what it's like. And again, it's a decent display, but not one that you want to interact with for too long. When it comes to audio quality, it's also decent. I would say that as a whole, it's not that different from other low-cost MP3 players that we've seen in the past few years, which is to say that it plays back music without too many problems. It sorts it by artist genres as well as playlists, and also supports cover art information as well, just because it is a color display. So if I tap on this Hotel California track, you can see that's showing up the cover art in the background, which is pretty cool. So overall, the audio quality is actually pretty decent. I would say that it has a surprising clarity to the sound. It's by no means an audiophile grade MP3 player, but compared to other low-cost devices, even like an iPod Nano, I would say the sound quality is about the same. Again, this is a plug-and-play device that you can simply put onto your computer just by using USB, supporting both Mac and PC, and it's read as almost like a thumb drive, and you're able to manipulate the 8 gigs of built-in memory to load up lots of content, photos, videos, things like that. And if we tap on something like a Chinese title, which is loaded by the manufacturer, you can see that it also displays other foreign languages pretty well, just because this one is by a Chinese company based in Shenzhen. So it's able to support multiple languages in terms of text, which is not something that all the low-cost MP3 players can do. Sometimes foreign characters like Spanish will show up as jumbled characters, but on this, it actually supports it pretty well. Overall, it also supports lossless audio formats, so that's pretty nice. If you do want slightly higher quality formats, it is doable on this device. And as a whole, again, it sounds pretty clean sounding as long as you pair it with decent quality headphones. Again, it doesn't have a built-in DAC or anything fancy, but for listening to just some quick tracks in terms of music, and for exercising, it does the job and gets adequately loud. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the Ruizu X50 is concerned, a low-cost clip-on MP3 player that doesn't break the bank and offers you some novel features if you don't want to bring along something like a full smartphone for listening to music and you want to just focus on the audio as well as the sports activity that you're performing at hand. It's pretty ergonomic, works well, and again, it's very low cost. Check out more details in the links down below, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.